Okay. So what's the play with Ethereum? The play with Ethereum is, well, at some point, we're going to expect Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin towards the end of the cycle. This is why I'm not under the impression that the cycle is over. Okay, as we still have not had ETH divided by Bitcoin pump to new all-time highs, or pump at all, actually. Okay, so let me hide this. Okay, let's look at Ethereum. So Ethereum is going to be the beta to Bitcoin. So as Bitcoin is trying to push back to all-time highs, Ethereum is still on the ground. I mean, it is nuked, okay? So what's the significance of that? Well, the idea is to outperform Bitcoin. How can you outperform Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin's already close to all-time highs, and we're going to start getting bullish again. Ethereum at some point is going to have a catch-up trade where it outpaces the growth of Bitcoin and catches up in price appreciation. So there's going to be a massive snapback in price appreciation from Ethereum to Bitcoin. That's when ETH BTC starts to pump, okay? So the reason we hold ETH and ETH beta is because we're looking to capture the upside of Bitcoin, but on a levered up, but a higher return than what Bitcoin itself would return. So if Bitcoin goes up 2x, we're going to expect Ethereum to go up 3x, and Pepe to go up 6x, and Andy and Wolf to go up 10, 15x, right? So they're going to be levered. So on ETH, we saw these downtrends. Every single time one of these downtrends got broken, we got a big pump. Downtrend broken, boom, big pump. This one was much steeper, this downtrend on ETH. It got nuked, okay? Just recently, finally, look what we just did on ETH. ETH came up, broke the downtrend, and it's reclaiming the macro range that we set from this cycle, which is this one right here. So from here, from the bear market to the top, to the tops, we reclaimed that range. Well, Bitcoin reclaimed its range. ETH just reclaimed its range. Well, what would you expect if we're bullish on a range reclaim? Well, you're going to expect range highs. So this is what I'm expecting to happen, is at the very least range highs again on ETH, and likely if we get range highs again on ETH, we're going to get no way. That's hilarious. You guys now know that I'm fucking rusty on Mr. Producer, because that entire time you couldn't see the fucking chart and nobody said anything in the chat. And we have double-digit live viewers, you animals. This is not ASMR. Somebody should have said something. That's fucking hilarious. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we broke the downtrend on ETH, okay? I'm expecting range highs again on ETH. If ETH runs it back up turbo to $4,100, our ETH beta that we're holding to outperform Ethereum are going to fucking fly, because that's more than a 2x on Ethereum. If that's more than a 2x on ETH, we're going to get more than a 3x on Pepe, more than a 6x on Andy, more than a 10, 15x on Wolf. Nostalgic. Wolf and Andy over a bill? Well, let's take a look. We'll take a look at that scenario. So I'm expecting Ethereum to run this bitch back turbo. Here's another piece of a confluence why ETH, I'm expecting to run this bitch back turbo as long as we don't head into a recession. Look at this. Look at the CME futures chart. We had this drawn out from the past. The CME futures chart on ETH has CME gaps all above. So we actually finally filled this one. We have this gap, we have this gap to get filled, and then we have this gap to get filled, which means we would run this bitch all the way back up. Why? Because CME gaps always like to get filled at some point, okay? CME gaps always like to get filled. These are CME futures for Ethereum, okay? So this is a huge piece of alpha. We created this gap to the downside, right? And then what do? Completely filled it. Okay, and we had this drawn out from back in April. Where's our next CME gap? The next CME gap that we have to fill is going to be up in here between 2,600 and yeah, 26.50. So at some point, just FOMO bought more. Wolf, I'm regretting not buying more in early April. Yeah, absolutely. This is what always happens. At the lows, you always wish you could have had more, right? So look at how far down we are on ETH. This is the time to be accumulating. So we have this CME gap above. We're going to hit this. We're going to close this gap. And then what happens when we close this gap? Well, we got to close this CME gap. We left this one. This is what happens whenever you have drastic price action to the downside, is because just as drastic as the downside is, just as drastic the upside is going to be, right? So if you have a vicious downside, you're going to have vicious upside. And so because we G'd so hard on ETH so fast these last couple months, we left all these gaps along the way. CME gaps get filled. So we're going to have to snap back and rip through these CME gaps. And what's going to happen this time is if global liquidity is at all-time highs, which it is right now, you're going to see this, you're going to see this, and then you're finally going to see the breakout in this 4-year reaccumulation range, because ETH hasn't even hit its all-time highs yet. 4,900 is ETH all-time highs. Think about that. Bitcoin is at new all-time highs by a 2x almost. Ethereum hasn't even tagged its old cycle's previous all-time high. Bitcoin has already hit 2x higher than last cycle. ETH hasn't even tagged its previous high. That's how much left. That's how much juice is left in something like Ethereum and some of these altcoins. Again, confluence why the cycle's not over. So when you see ETH do this and close all these gaps, that's a 2.25x move. If you get 2.25x on ETH, you're going to see Pepe do what? Over a 3x. You see? It's levered Ethereum. And what's Andy and Wolf going to do? Well, I'll show you those in a second. Okay? So ETH has all this to get covered up in these CME gaps. Okay? Huge. So we go back to the ETH chart, right? So this thing is gearing up to get run back turbo. Okay? Because this downtrend got broken, ripped up. Downtrend broken, ripped up. Downtrend broken, I'm expecting a rip up. Okay? Now, why would we hold Pepe then instead of Ethereum? Because Pepe is going to outperform Ethereum. This is the ETH beta train. So down below, let's add Ethereum. Okay. Look at this. Look at the strength that Pepe has shown against ETH. Okay. So clearly they're effectively the same chart. All right. This is why we hold beta to alpha. We want to trade assets that are correlated to something else. This is why the Boys Club is such a fantastic meme coin beta train, because it's so correlated to its major. There's no guesswork. There's no, I need it to be the hot thing on the market right now. It is so correlated. And because of Pepe being a clear winner this cycle, the rest of the Boys Club are always going to have a perma bid on them, because Pepe is going to have a perma bid on it. Every other meme coin that you see does not work that way. This is why we hold these to outperform Ethereum, because we know when to trade them and how the swings are going to work. So we swing trade these. So ETH, you see top out, you get these tops on Pepe, okay? But now look at what Pepe is doing compared to Ethereum. Pepe actually double bottomed and started trending up before ETH did. This is how strong of an asset this is. So here's your double bottom on Pepe. Okay. And at the same time, look what ETH did. So Pepe set a higher low while ETH set a lower low. Okay. That's a bullish divergence. Okay, that's how bullish this is. This is bottoming out. Altcoins started bottoming out while ETH was still setting a lower low. Huge. Think about that. Came up, came down when ETH was coming down here, and it bounced. Okay? This is where you're shoving. Okay? So you probably see Pepe do something like this. Right into here. Just like that. Right? Higher low, or so lowest low, higher low, boom, rip. Right? Something like that. Why would it come back into here? Because there's this price action right here. This little zone right across the board. So probably do something like this. So if you're looking to get more Pepe, I would look for something like this. Okay. But it's levered. So look at this. So off the low, if you're accumulating at the lows here, which we were talking about inside of TC, off the lows, you're up 60% on ETH. %37%. Okay, double. Perfect. Correlated, beautiful ETH beta showing strength against ETH. So now let's get something real exciting, huh?